They should expect to see a very real veteran story. When you watch Hollywood, sometimes things are glorified to the extreme, and then
Yep.
you can see things like, let's say, Oliver Stone, which is very raw, but it's still makeup and effects and acting and people who aren't in war but you're pretending to be. And so even though it looks very real and feels very real, it's not. There's a crew
No.
in it. It's manufactured. This is real. This is allowing men to open up in ways that is rarely ever seen, and they can expect a very emotional ride, especially if you are someone who's served. And so be prepared for it to hit home really hard for you.
Good day, filmmakers. Andrew James Gonzales and Laura Valera of the film American Sons. Starting with you, Andrew, how are you today?
Tired. We just had an
Oh,
incredible week with an amazing world premiere, and then we screened last night at 9:15. We
ooh,
were meeting with guests until well after 11, and then, of course, we have to take some time to come down from the weekend, so we stayed up.
right.
That's right.
Oh, your
Processing.
film, yeah. And then do you feel the same way, Laura?
Yeah, it was just an incredible weekend. We're so privileged to be here and to have our world premiere at South by Southwest. It's a dream for any filmmaker.
Oh, and the film is so fantastic. I think the thing that I love the most about it is the authenticity of the film. Is that you're watching something that is really is what it feels like to be like in one of those platoons in that battery. That you guys get that communication between Marines that deployed that I think is so hard to find. And it makes me curious, starting with you, Laura, how you got involved in filmmaking. Like, how did you gain the skill set to be able to create such a beautiful film?
Thanks so much. It's definitely been many years. I went to I went to UT. I'm a UT grad. So South by Southwest holds a real special place in our heart because like our very first projects were at South by Southwest when it was just a teeny tiny festival at the Dolby Theater.
Wow.
Been making films a long time. When you're young, you have to work on big projects, be it big features, commercials, and you have to work with other documentary filmmakers to learn your skill set. It's also, as a Chicana filmmaker, you work a lot with the community. So we're in San Antonio, there's not a lot of filmmakers there. So you do get absorbed within the artist community, with the activist community, and you learn how to be a person who uses your talents in service to the community. And in my case, I was a filmmaker, right? And I was getting to work on these films that were teaching me also production skills and also how to care for people, subject matter people you're working with, how to honor them, how to make promises to them. For example, I'm going to take your pictures, but I'm going to give them back to you is a thing, but there's so many horror stories of filmmakers who don't do that. So I just feel that it's taken many years and a lot of lessons and a lot of trust. You have to build trust with your subject matter, which I feel like we really achieved in this film, and Andrew can tell you more about that. We were lucky to have his JV Villarreal's sister facilitate all that.
Okay, yeah. And Andrew, how did you find that authenticity through your path in filmmaking?
I've always been drawn to documentary because I appreciate the realism. I like real stories. I don't like this. There's a lot of great narrative Hollywood stuff, but I just don't like this fake happy ending in every movie, right? I don't want to see the same movie
Right.
over and over again. And in life, it's not always a happy ending. And so one is just understanding that's okay, that sometimes things just happen, and just to allow everything to play out as it is and letting people be who they are. And so for me, it was spending a lot of time getting to know these guys. Because of COVID, we didn't know exactly what to do. It was in the very early days of COVID. I wanted to continue going, and I would fly out to see some of these guys, and then I would stay with them. I could be with them for up to 7 days, just living with them, eating, hanging out. And we just spent a lot of time developing strong relationships. So when it got to the point where it would be in the morning or whatever, and I'm there to film, I'd say, "Hey, can we start filming?" And if they said yes, I just wouldn't stop unless somebody told me to stop. And it really happened. So when you do that and it's just you and you're blurring the lines between filming and hanging out, and you're curious to and someone is, you spend a lot of time just hanging, people are opened up to you, and then that much time with the camera rolling, I guess the camera kind of disappears to them because we've
Yeah,
just been hanging
exactly.
out this whole time. And so when you watch the film, you'll see that me as someone who shot it, it's different when I'm perceiving it, but I'm looking at it going, do they even know there's a camera there? Because moments are so intimate. It trips me out to know that there's a third guy there in this conversation. And it was just making relationships, letting them know that I'm cool and they can trust me. And so there's a lot of things that aren't in the film that were discussed that were much deeper, much more raw. And I think since we were able to go that far, having these
Right.
discussions, they knew that I was cool, and that I kept coming back, and we kept hanging out. We kept having these relationships. That's what I would say to any other filmmaker: to get the authenticity, you just have to be present and curious and wanting to develop like really enjoying relationships. And that's really what I enjoy out of life, is just meeting people and engaging.
Wow, and that sort of explains the ending in this film where I was crushed. I have to be honest with you, Andrew. Took pause the film because I really couldn't get through that last moment of it, and it explains your idea. I'm like, all right, this makes sense. How he's just crushing me near the end with the story. It's just hard for me to process. So when somebody's sitting down to watch American Sons, what should they expect to see, Andrew?
They should expect to see a very real veteran story. When you watch Hollywood, sometimes things are glorified to the extreme, and then
Yep.
you can see things like, let's say, Oliver Stone, which is very raw, but it's still makeup and effects and acting and people who aren't in war but you're pretending to be. And so even though it looks very real and feels very real, it's not. There's a crew
No.
in it. It's manufactured. This is real. This is allowing men to open up in ways that is rarely ever seen, and they can expect a very emotional ride, especially if you are someone who's served. And so be prepared for it to hit home really hard for you. And if you're a parent of someone who's served, it's going to hit home very hard for you. And so I would just understand that what you're going to see is very real, but also you're going to love it because it hits home
Yeah,
with you,
exactly.
because you can
Yeah.
connect with the characters, because you've been there and you've had the experiences. And also, it has all the emotions. It's not like you said it was crushing at the end, and it is, but there's also hope, and
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
also
Yeah.
laughter, and there's also romance, and there's also music and fun. And I think you're going to get all the breadth of emotions that a great film should have, and you're going to expect to enjoy yourself. But also, like, when I watch films, I want to walk away thinking about what I saw, and I
A
want to wake
thousand
up the
percent.
next day wondering, like, asking questions and thinking about things. And the fact that people are doing that really makes me feel like we're doing our job.
Yep. Yep. Mission
Oh my
accomplished.
God. So amazing. Absolutely. So, Laura, this documentary filmmakers are struggling to put their projects together to find funding. Looking at how this got put together, it looks like it was through several organizations, different things. You mixed and matched and brought a ton of different resources together. Can you talk about that process of getting the film funded and what kind of advice you might have for another documentary filmmaker who's out there being like, how the hell did they do this? How the hell did they put together such a great project?
Oh man, can I tell you, it was not easy. However, I had made one PBS national project, and so this is my second. So it took several years for me to get my second. And that's a testament to how difficult it is to get like these big projects funded. So it's a testament to the film and the story and the
Right.
relationships we had from that first one, because Latino Public Broadcasting was one of the major funders for that film. And that relationship we brought it to them. We brought the film, we shot a little bit, edited a trailer, put a proposal together, and they were the very first ones to come in. So
That's
we were
awesome.
really blessed. We were able to go a little bit more. And then it's not a lot of money. You have to keep going without it sometimes. Shoot more, and then you write another proposal. And I think our second proposal was California Humanities, or I don't remember.
Our
I mean,
second one that we won, our
the
second
second one we
proposal we
won.
were rejected from,
Yes,
and the
we
third and the fourth and the fifth.
we applied the first time, didn't get it. We have applied again. We got California Humanities, and then we got city money, a little bit of city money, and then the major win was the Black Public Media Award It was part of the Jackie Jones Memorial Fund, and that's a big finishing grant, and it comes with a
That's awesome.
residency, producers residencies, and then that really pushed us in a point where we could start finishing the film. And then towards the end, Bexar County came in, which is a county in San Antonio where we're at, and they came in with another big push. So it took many years, as we know. So when we started developing this particular film, I've had the footage since 2011, and talking about developing this film, that was in 2018. So we started back in 2019. It's a while, and the one thing that I would tell filmmakers for sure is don't give up. Like if you
Yeah,
don't get money from a certain organization and you really feel that they align with you and your filmmaking, apply again the next time. Make sure you call, get feedback, apply again. The other thing that I tell young filmmakers is always be offered to be a grant reader for foundations, organizations. If you've gotten at least one, they'll usually ask you to do that. And the more you read for other foundations and for other filmmakers, you learn as well too what people are looking for, what makes a good proposal, what doesn't. And I really feel that's key. Like you keep going. Me and Andrew we're really good proposal writers together, right? He also like editing, like he
obviously, yeah.
constantly editing like different trailers, different versions and iterations of the cut. And then the proposal is just getting better and better every time it goes to the next funder or next cycle. You just got to keep going. You never stop, and your proposal just keeps evolving and getting better and better. You get better at articulating what you want people to see before they could see it. And you could also talk about grant writing and fundraising because
Yeah, definitely. I'd never written a grant before.
Wow.
And the second one that we wrote,
yeah,
not that I'm not a decent writer, I just never liked to do it.
a lot.
So
Right.
I would say that preparation meets opportunity. So coming up, I always knew I would be in this situation. I knew I would be the director. I knew I would be the producer. And so when I first started, I taught myself how to edit because I knew that I was going to have to, that I was going to have to communicate to an editor. So I needed to learn how to do it. And so then I got really good at that, and I did that for years. And then I had to I needed something to edit, so I was shooting the stuff that I edited, and then I learned how to direct through shooting and editing my own stuff. And then I did that for 15 plus years. And then along the way, I started doing other things. So what I want to make it a point of the difference between a director and a filmmaker, right? So a director directs the film versus a filmmaker does anything that they need to do to finish the film, which means you're taking on a role that you've never even done before, but because you have the vision of how to complete it, you just do it. Like, and I have that sensibility where even if I don't know how to do something like animation and stuff that's in the film, I learned that years ago because when I was in Austin, I had a mentor and I learned a little bit of that stuff, and I just learned enough to communicate what I need. That's my style. Is like I know enough to do the thing I want to do. I'm not trying to do anything crazy or all this innovative stuff. Now I just want to tell a story. So I learned enough to tell a great story. And then in this project, I really learned how to tell a story because we had a larger team and we had a lot of feedback. And I'm open to feedback. We're both open to feedback, and we took all the feedback that everybody gave
All the good
us.
one.
All the
We
good
took all the
stuff,
good
all the good
feedback.
feedback. But we went to multiple people. Like we had funders, and we heard from them, and
That's
then
awesome.
we talked to a veteran. We talked to had the VA watch some earlier versions, and we listened to them. And we went to the Health Science Center, and we heard about like their perspective from a medical thing and a mental health thing. And then we went to veterans communities, and we screened with them, and we heard what they were looking for. And so we took all this feedback and we infused it in the film. So
filmmakers too, the AFS.
Exactly. So people that are our colleagues, and we took feedback from them. And so one of the things that I've learned, because I'm not like I don't know, I guess a young ego-driven filmmaker who just says like art to look this way.
My vision.
I came up doing festivals, and when you're doing things like that, like entrepreneurial things where you're just hoping somebody shows up, you start to shift how you're doing things because you have to do for the audience. It's not about you. If you just do what you think is cool and nobody shows up, like that doesn't work. And so
Right.
start understanding that the audience is the most important. And so when we took the feedback, we're taking it directly from the audience, and they're telling us this is what we want to see. And so that's what we made a film. We had a very clear idea of who our audience is, and we made a film that they were going to enjoy, but also that was going to impact them in a very strong way. And so that I think that we've achieved that, and it's all about keeping them in mind.
I think you have as well. So you've mentioned several times that you don't see these films on the narrative side. Why is that? And then the second part to this question, Andrew, is it looks like A24 has a new movie coming out called Warfare. It's directed by Ray Mendoza. And I'm wondering, like, do you think that's just coincidence? It's another Latino directing
Navy
something like
SEALs.
this, or is there something specific about that experience that makes it a more like with the community part of it? It makes it more likely to be told from a Latino perspective.
Yeah, so there's a lot of layers to that question. So the
Yeah,
first thing is that the reason you don't see movies like this, which you're seeing this, so you are seeing movies like this, but the reason that traditionally you're not is because we're in a very strange transitional period in the world of cinema. So we had Hollywood for a very long time, and it used to be very expensive to make a film, and it still is in the grand scheme of thing. But it used to be very expensive, and it's business, it's the movie business, and a lot of people miss that part. And so when you
yeah,
have a business, you have to account for how many tickets are you going to sell. Okay, but over the years, we're not in theaters anymore, so they're not selling tickets, and now you have streaming, and then streaming is like a one price fits all for as many movies as you want to watch, and accounting for that is much different to do. And you can't really tell like what movies people are watching or how much would they would pay for one versus another. And so it comes to the point where movies had gotten so inflated. Like I remember when Waterworld came out, the price tag on that was so astronomical that it had blown everybody's mind, and it didn't do well in the theaters. And so
right.
what happens is from that point on, movies just started getting inflated, and they so expensive. And so if you make a movie that's a couple $100 million, how many tickets or streaming services do you have to sell to make that back? And so then what
Yeah,
happens is if you make one movie for $100 million and you only make, let's say, $90 million, it's not, you just lost $10 million. If you
right.
do that multiple
Exactly.
times, if you do that multiple times, it's devastating. So my point is, these films are, they're a risk for the Hollywood was stuck in the big budget thing, and it's a risk to make the film. So what you're seeing now is smaller budget films from independent production companies like A24, who we love, absolutely love them, being able to do things with smaller budgets with more creative directors who are willing to do things that don't require huge Hollywood stunts and all this different stuff. So the fact that there's this Latino filmmaker, we totally applaud that. That's awesome. It's a bit of a coincidence, but also you have to look at the population of the United States, the growth of the Latin community. And so the Latin community, it stretches. It's like we live in South Texas, and normally people think, okay, it's just Mexicans and Texans, and that's the Latin
Right.
population. But you go to Florida, and it's a whole different group of Latinos there that have come from other areas of the world. And if you go to California, it's the same thing. So that population is really growing. And then if you look at movies going into international distribution, there's a lot more viewers in Mexico now. There's a lot
And
more
Latin
viewers in
America.
Latin America, in Spain, in South America. And so there's a lot of more opportunity because of the numbers of viewers that are available. I hope that's
Yeah.
a question that's a little long.
Oh, no, perfect answer. So, what was the response like at South by Southwest? Was the audience mostly veterans? Was it mostly people who had no familiarity with the military at all? I'm sure you can't, there wasn't a survey taken at the door, so you can't necessarily tell that specifically. But Laura, like, was the audience reaction what you expected when you screened the film?
Yeah, it was really heartwarming. People were laughing. People were really crying. I was yesterday when we were looking at the film, I was turning around and I saw so many people in tears in certain moments.
Oh,
And for
yeah.
me, like it was
I was
really
there
touching.
too.
Yeah, it was even grown men. And I feel like the audience at South by Southwest is a lot of supporters of the filmmakers, but it's also people attending the festival. It's people
Yeah.
who are drawn to the subject matter. And it was a mix, right? So there's people, everybody I feel in the United States is connected to a veteran somehow. If you don't
Yep.
have one immediately in your family, believe me, somebody you're interacting with is a veteran. So I feel like also like mothers, like our children, like that loss
Completely.
too, that grief. Everybody has lost a loved one. So I think there's these ways where our humanity is really highlighted in the film. And I feel showing this story also shows us why we really got to take care of our sons and daughters or people we send off, right, into the military, and why we need to take care of them and why we need to make sure that they're taken care of when they come back.
Love it. Andrew, what's next for you guys? Indie filmmakers constantly have to be thinking about the next project. Is there going to be a theatrical rollout for this film? And then after that's done or it goes to streaming, what is the next project for you guys?
So this project is special. It's not just a one and done, and then we put it out to the world, and then we move on to the next project. We're here to make real impact in the community, in the veterans community. So when we screen the film, obviously people have gotten a real connection to it. And so what we're doing now is embarking on our impact strategy campaign, which means we're going to take this film throughout veteran-centric areas of the country, screen for veteran populations, and allow veterans to come out of isolation and come and engage with other veterans, organizations, get some entertainment, connect with an audience, and then have our partner organizations be able to provide education or services to these veterans within their community. So we're going to be doing that all over the country, and we're looking for partners right now that we're beginning to work with. And so that's going to be like a 3-year process. And
Awesome.
we're looking to align with all those organizations and eventually move to some sort of a legislation that's going to be able to help veterans with that transition period. Because our guys, they were training for 2 years to go into Afghanistan, but then when they got out of active service, they only have a 30-day window just to get their vitals checked out and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for an opportunity where transition can be much more of a robust process. And we're speaking with a lot of organizations who are working in DC to change things. And we're just looking to align our mission with what they're already doing so that together we can make some real change. So be on the lookout in your town for when we come through, and we would love to meet you.
Love it. Love it so much. So let me conclude this as an indie film podcast. Love hyping other people's projects. You two are obviously extraordinarily collaborative and work within your communities to make both their community and filmmaking easier and better. So Laura, starting with you, is there an indie film or filmmaker out there that you wish more people knew about?
Oh my gosh. There's so
I know.
many. There's so many, but right now I do want to give a shout out to the Tejana Chicanas here in Austin. There's a group called Tejanas in Film. And there's some young filmmakers, documentary filmmakers and narrative filmmakers that like Esmeralda Hernandez and Sharon Arteaga, that we should all keep an eye out for the narrative work. And it's coming right out of Texas. And those stories, like those Latino stories out of Texas, are really important, especially right now that we don't see them enough. So now that they're starting to come out, we really got to start paying attention. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. And Andrew?
Yeah, I can't really think of anything offhand. Unfortunately, I don't get a chance to
Yeah.
watch a lot of movies that I would like to.
Because you're making your movie. Yeah.
The thing is, they're hard to find. Like the opportunity to find great movies is challenging, right? So if you get a subscription to Netflix, there's a lot of dribble to sift through to see something good. And
Yeah,
I
no,
can't put
completely.
I'm tired of filling my head with films with bad endings and like that kind of stuff. I don't want to see it. And so what I'm hoping for, and I'm hoping that we can be a part of. So our distribution method is unorthodox. And so we're taking our film and not going to streaming right away. Although we do have a broadcast on PBS coming up, we're taking our film directly to audiences, into their communities, to connect with them directly. And so what I'm hoping for is as we start to transition from this old Hollywood model to seeing films being made all over the world, there's going to need to be a platform for these independent films to be shown. And I think there's a real hunger in the market for true cinephiles, people who love to watch films, to be able to access independent films that have real meaning and value, and young directors. And I'm hoping that we can be part of that shift and be part of that community of filmmakers to show films that challenge mainstream narratives, that make you think. And when you brought up A24, I love this production company. The films that they make are not films that other companies would take chances on, but they are.
Exactly.
So they're bringing something to the table that obviously people love. And so we just want to see more of that, and we would love to be a part of that. And anybody wants to reach out, we would love to connect.
Love it so much. The film is American Sons. I feel like it's letting people in on the group text of soldiers and Marines. That's what it felt like to me. Like, feels raw, authentic as it can be. Director, producer Andrew James Gonzales, and producer Laura Valera. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
Thank you so much.